Right, hello everyone. Okay, I just wanted to update you on my my gardening, basically. So, I found these pots on my walk the other day. So a friend come pick them up with me yesterday. They're pretty heavy, but they're pretty cool, big ones. So, and then I got all these little ones. So here's the. I noticed in my other video I didn't record properly what I was trying to show. So these are the chilies and onions in there. It's going to be quite hot for a bit, and the soil's quite dry here. So we went to. These are just planting some peas in there, and then some spinach. Found all these pots yesterday, so I'm going to start growing stuff in the pots. Keep growing these stuff in these pots as well. And then, yeah, just put some beans in there, got some leeks. So this was the soil we got from Paul the farmer. He's where it keeps my horses up there for us. This stuff is all lacquer. So this is all cows, sheep, horses, poo basically. Good shit. That's what my mum was saying yesterday. Good shit. Right. So what I want to talk about, I'm just mixing it in here. So I'm basically doing some soil alchemy. So what I'm doing, I just recorded this video and it didn't record all of it again. So like I said, they're mucking around with everything I'm trying to do right now, which is kind of annoying. Oh, these trousers are pretty long. So what I'm saying is, so I got ash. I've got ash in here, and then I've got some chalk, and then I'm mixing this soil because that was really healthy. It's got loads of worms and that in it as well. And obviously it's from the flint and all the trees around here, and it's still on top of the chalk. And then we've got this compost, and then I found some other fine bits of compost as well. You know, the kind of more richer stuff that's a bit more fluffy. And what I did want to talk about, I just was talking about this in the other video, was the potassium. So I had this thing, I was messaging Melissa a while ago about potassium, and when I first wasn't very well, when I was at the peak of having my pain with my endo and it was really severe, I went strict and vegan for quite a few years. I still am now really, and I noticed that what my body was craving, so I was mainly listening to my body and what it needed, my body consciousness, because I really started to connect with it again. And what I found out was it was craving a lot of bananas. So obviously I had to eat other foods as well to survive, but it was when I was going through part of a mental breakdown of like what my body can intake, because you know your mind always says, oh, have this, have that, and then you've got the yogis that don't eat at all, but they live off their own acid that comes down, and then they like feed themselves basically. So it is all in the mind. So I was playing around with, you know, how much I did need to eat and how much if I changed my mind state about food. And yeah, I noticed that my body needed potatoes and bananas. And if you look up close at a banana, you can kind of see, like, you know, when you look at the crystalline in your hands from the sun, it kind of has the same effect when you look at a banana. Like if you look at it close in the sun, it's got all like crystalline, it's like really kind of smooth, but when you actually bite into it, it loses that structure. So potatoes as well, I realised had that same kind of texture, and when I'd eat them, my body would find it really nice to break them down, and it was like flow, and everything was like good, and I'd also get the energy I needed from it, because obviously potatoes have a lot of vitamins and stuff in as well. And I didn't realise that potatoes had a lot of potassium in them. When I keep seeing this thing with potassium coming up, and then it happened again when I got some potatoes out the other day, and it had said high in potassium on it, and I was like, right, okay, they've never ever said that. We've been buying these potatoes for ages and they've never said that. So I started looking it up. I sent it to Melissa. So I started looking it up of what it meant, and potassium is like must be linked with plasma, because when I was talking to Paul the farmer and that yesterday, like he knows a lot about soils and he's very like knowledgeable. Like I do know quite a lot of farmers around here and like long family friends of mine and stuff. So, you know, I asked him quite a lot of questions all the time about the earth and about the stones and the soils and, you know, the cycles and, you know, how they're finding the shift and everything like that. See, even like these bits of soil here, they're so high in crystalline. I don't know if you can see. It's not really focusing, is it? It's really high in crystals. So I'm breaking some of this up now because some bits are quite clayey. So I'm breaking it up so it's a bit more final. But when I was asking him, he said use seaweed shells, because shells are good for breaking down, which would be chalk. Because that's Gaia's filtered part of all the bones and the shells, isn't it? And so this would be the finest part of it, like, you know, breaking down the compost and that. So this would be like Gaia's almost compost of shells. So I'm putting a bit of this in, and when he said about the ash, adding in ash, so I've got like a big bag of ash in his there that I'm putting on, and it is linked with like potassium, which would be energy. Which would be the energy. I don't know if I've got the camera now. Which would be the energy. So yeah, I haven't added in loads. You know, it's the same as like making a meal. If you put too much of one ingredient in, and it's like too much of it. This is right. So it's kind of like an alchemy to it. So we need to kind of start nurturing the soils again in this way, I think, to make it more high in energy, and then that energy goes into the food, you know, because that's what it's growing off of and vibrating out of. So I'm going to try and see, like, it looks quite nice at the moment, it actually feels quite nice. So I've added in like a big pot, mix it together, then the compost, and then you just got to keep it at the right kind of moisture. So I'm going to soak them at night and then let the sun go in the day to give the plant time to breathe. We were talking about all the little details of how the plants actually work and breathe and have their cycles, so we fit into that cycle, because if you keep watering it too much and you stress it out, then it doesn't grow. So you need to have this kind of flow and movement with the plant to let it grow. So yeah, so I've been mixing in these soils, and I just wanted to mention about the potassium, because when I did look it up, all the foods we've been craving is like beetroots and avocados and things, and you know, raisins, high in potassium. These are all the things I've been eating, so my body has been craving it. And when you look up what it does for the flow, it like helps the body flow, it helps the heart go, so it is almost kind of a more fast pacing. So when people say, oh, you can't eat loads of bananas because it's too high in potassium and it does things to you, I'm not saying everyone should go out and eat loads and loads of bananas, but I'm just saying I think potassium is quite an important part of our diet. And it's popping up more and more and more, and then when you put ash on this, it's for potassium to help things grow. So there, I think it's linked with plasma. It's kind of got a different energy into it, you know, which would be the crystalline again. Like I said, it has that kind of same thing in it. Potatoes and the bananas, when you look at it, it's got that kind of structure to it, like a light, fluffy kind of structure. So yeah, I just wanted to show you what I was up to, and I think, yeah, I am right. This is like the next piece of art that I want. I'm talking about creating dimensions and artists, and then growing these from the seed would literally be growing like art, isn't it? It's like a dimension, it's within itself. So, because I eat a lot of seeds too, and the shape of them have been coming up more and more, because I eat even a lot of hemp seeds and stuff up there, and obviously I use it for my stomach, but like I use cannabis for my stomach sometimes when I have my Indo. So when you're having the seeds, like, that's holding all the information to grow that specific plant. Like, so when I'm craving all these seeds, I'm eating just pure information basically. But yeah, they have the same shape. Some of them as the water drop, the teardrop. Also, you know, I follow the shapes of things. So yeah, I'm enjoying actually bonding and just like putting my hands in the soil and looking at things at this level, because this is, everything comes down to this anyway. This is like one of the main pivot points, you know. And yeah, so we're gonna go get some seaweed and some oyster shells and that, I think, soon, and then keep growing this, and then just testing, see what is growing and what's not, without trying to use, you know, the resources that are around here and how we can revive what we've already got, instead of going and buying other compost. Because I know Paul the farmer was saying they make quite a lot of money out of all the compost they are doing and that. So if we can find out about it ourselves, you know, make contracts with these people, because they're also struggling as well, you know, then everything can fit if we find other loopholes. So yeah, and plus, as I am doing this, I am connecting to the collective consciousness of the UK as well. So I'm putting out to a lot more people. You know, I'm manifesting as I'm doing this now. I'm manifesting because I'm still connected to, you know, the subconscious. We're all connected. So the more time I can spend out here, you know, bonding with this and sending the energy back to the collective consciousness, the more people will feel that they feel right when they're doing stuff like this, because that's what feels right. And it just needs a little bit of love and a bit of attention put back into it. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling now at the moment as I'm doing it. Because a lot of people are really disconnected from it because we rely on other people, but at the end of the day, this is what we're living off. So our energy should be going back into this. And again, the chalk, potassium. Apparently if you put potassium sulfate with water, it also explodes as well. So, you know, I feel like they've made up all these kind of words and all these big long things, and actually it's quite simple. It is actually quite simple, but it's made to be made so complex, even though it is kind of complex. But it's just what we've added to it, again, like a growth of a mirror against a mirror. Like one person says that, another person says that, and that scientist's getting paid to do that. So then they have to, you know, it just keeps feeding and feeding in the wrong direction. So actually we need to just take it back down to, you know, almost like these timelines, and then bring them back down. You know, and the more of us that put our energy together and then put our energy intent into something, then that's powerful on its own too. You know. So, yeah. And I watched T. Taylor's video, and she was saying about, you know, it is all like the Cymatics. Again, she brought it up to in a different format. And I even thinking about, you know, what if we, you know, in the, like, when they played the music to the grapes to grow the wine in the vineyards, and the grapes grew massive. They grew absolutely massive. So, you know, the earth likes listening to frequency too. So, you know, we could even involve like our art with the earth, with the Cymatics, and actually helping things grow and creating dimensions out of the earth vibrating in different formats. You know, how would that affect the waters in those grapes if we weren't using it for wine, but we were using it, you know, just for us to consume? You know, because when you think of alcohol and you think of all these things, the reason why I stopped drinking it and it wasn't good for my body is because it is the furthest away. You know, you've got all these fine whiskies and all these fine things that are weighted, but, you know, that is making it more and more past and past and past and past. So the older it is, it's actually like a fine poison rather than anything that's good for you. Because when I was out in Cambodia and I was healing, I was eating food that was like really fresh. So the food was really fresh out there, and you want to be eating stuff that's like basically like vegetables and fruit is good for you because it's direct sunlight. Whereas this is where Nikola Tesla was a vegan, not because he obviously cared about the animals, but it was mainly because he wanted to eat direct sunlight. So the fruit and vegetables would have been direct sunlight, whereas meat is like second-hand sunlight. It's like second-hand sunlight, so it's like that's already grown from that animal and it has its own consciousness, and then you're basically eating like it's dead meat in it, like I said before. So what would be the best thing for us would be to be like sun eating, like I said in my last video, sun eating, so we get it directly into us. So we would need like UV and stuff, you know. when you're looking at everything from the point of hue, humans hue what we are, the colour, then this is what I'm saying again. So we want to sun eat, really. And even if we got everyone together as a consciousness again, we would change the weather if we had the intent to, also. Because it is a part of us, because we're a part of the earth, and the elements are also part of Gaia's consciousness and her auric field. So if we're able to connect to that, and we're also able to have conversations and connect to, you know, the elements, like the wind has been becoming more and more with people as we're starting to connect as one consciousness. We're starting to overpower, you know, the consciousness of almost the governmental. So we're overpower that, and then we've got the more energy there, which is one unit. It has to be a unit, like the government is a unit. Yes, it has all different countries, it has different aspects, but at the end of the day it is all still one format, because all the flags are like representing the same system. Does that make sense? So all the flags and that are the same size, they have the same patternings, so that is still one system that has created a system. Even though they're separate, they're not. So it's like us, like, you know, we're all separate, but we're not, because we're asking for the same thing. So if there's more of us overpowering that with an intent, with the earth, then the earth would go to where the energy is more, where it is needed, and the earth is also calling for it. So we're already overpowering that. Yeah. So if we started to connect to the earth a little bit more, like physically too, if we can, I know everyone is already, then, you know, what we can vibrate from, like the weather, like I said, would change. But right, I'm out anyway, because I need to get these in the shade so I can water them later, because it's going to be hot for a few days. And yeah. A lot of love. A lot of love. And yes, they still deleted a few comments off my other video, because Tim said he saw some on then and they weren't on there anymore. So they are still mucking around with what we're doing. There seems to be, we're getting quite stamped on at the moment, quite a few of us. So just keep sticking together, and we're not doing anything wrong. And yeah, have a good day, evening. A lot of love. I'm not going to kiss my hand because I'm absolutely filthy, covered in literally good shit. Okay, bye.